Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching India Tonight with me, Sumita, Kareer, and our top story this hour. Well, restaurants across the country are up in arms against Swiggy and Zomato. Essentially, they're standalone apps for 10-minute food delivery. Now, the National Restaurant Association of India, representing the interests of several restaurants, is likely to approach the Competition Commission of India to address their concerns related to Swiggy and Zomato's recent launches of standalone apps for 10-minute food delivery. The NRAI is already pursuing a case with the antitrust regulator against both of these companies. It has accused them of engaging in anti-competitive practices. In fact, Zomato's Blinkit and Swiggy recently introduced standalone apps Bistro and SNACC, respectively. But what really are NRAI's allegations? Number one is the operation of private labels by food delivery companies that is raising the issues of operation for restaurant partners. And secondly, NRAI also calls the practices of these companies as anti-competitive. Exactly what is the contention? We'll go to that story in just a bit and, of course, analyze what the overall business impact of these launches is going to be for restaurant partners. To discuss that, I'm now joined by Sagar, Daryani, the National President of NRAI, and Rahul, Jain, the VP of Research at Dolat Capital. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening on ET. Now, let me come to you first, Sagar. There are several allegations that you've leveled in the letter, in fact, the release that you've shared with media partners: private label selling, misuse of private labels, intellectual property rights that have been infringed upon. But share with us the key contention that you have with these food delivery companies, especially the launch of their 10-minute food delivery apps.
See, Sumita, thanks for having me here. We have nothing against quick commerce, right? I think quick commerce just adds a zing to food delivery. It's okay as long as restaurants are doing it. What we are absolutely not okay, and I repeat, what we are absolutely not okay is with these aggregators doing private labels and getting into the food space. So in a way, they're getting into our trade. Now, on the several communications that we've had with them over the past, they've always given us verbal assurance that they will never get into our trade. They will never get into our territory, right? Their job is aggregation. Their job is logistics. Now, the problem here is that why we worry is that, they have all our data. They have the app. Now, nothing stops them from migrating our customers to the similar product that they're selling in their own app. Secondly, for us, there's complete and total consumer masking. We don't even get the consumer data, right? So somewhere I feel that this is, in a way, absolutely unfair. We are completely cornered, and we feel it's time for us to speak our voice out and to raise concerns, because we've been at it. We've been at the CCI against the aggregators for the last 3 years. Rather, CCI has also mentioned, as per news reports, that they have found some anti-competitive measures done by aggregators. So in a way, we stand vindicated. Now, on top of that, for them to come out here and launch their own Q-commerce app, selling food by private labels, where they can migrate a guy selling, they can sell a brand selling tea or momos or samosa, then they can completely migrate them to the own tea, momo, samosa that they are selling, or biryani that they are selling. I think it's absolutely unfair and very badly dampens the small restaurant operator, the localized restaurant operator, who's actually making a survival by snacking in a very, very big way. So for us, I think it's going to very adversely damage the fraternity, and we think it's complete violation of neutrality of the platform play that they stand for.
Okay, so Sagar, I'll come to the impact that you're mentioning on restaurant partners, and we'll expand on that in a little bit. But let me come to you, Rahul. Now, of course, Sagar is saying that there's going to be wide-ranging impact on smaller players, smaller restaurant partners particularly. But what is the overall impact that you assess of these 10-minute delivery services on traditional restaurants?
I mean, the essence of this model is basically delivering things faster, which itself would mean that it would be served through the restaurant, which are much more closer in closer vicinity. So to that extent, the proximity of the restaurant to the consumer become an important element for this particular demand to be getting service. So that's something where the differentiation would come from those particular units versus the rest of it. So that is something where the impact would come in. Whether these companies would do little bit of it on their own, whether it would be completely third party restaurant, whether there could be some kind of a cloud structures. I mean, all of these things would evolve over time. So exact beneficiary and who would be loser one would learn over a period of time as some of these operations scale up.
Okay, Rahul, Sagar, let me come to you. Of course, you were speaking about some of these practices that are followed by these quick commerce companies, or rather, they're now getting into the 10-minute delivery business models. How are these practices really cannibalizing the business of smaller restaurants, and what's the kind of business impact have NRAI members faced? Because this is something that's been an ongoing issue. I mean, the 10-minute delivery issue is coming up now, but you've had issues with Zomato and Swiggy and similar such apps in the past as well.
So we've had a lot of issues. I think the forefront issue has been consumer masking. We don't get the data of our own customers whom we are selling to via the Zomato Swiggy app, right? Whereas if you look at their terms and conditions, they take permission from the consumer to share the numbers with us, but they don't do that, right? So there's complete consumer masking. We don't know our customers there. On top of that, when they have the entire data and they have the app, so for example, today, if a customer is coming to give an example, if a customer is coming to a brand like Chayos, right, they can completely migrate that consumer to their own app where they're selling their own tea as per private label, or they can completely migrate a Wow Momo customer to their own app where they are selling momos. So just to give you an example, they can play with the data in whichever way possible. First things first, we've always stood for the data being shared with us because, we feel we need to know our customers. On top of that, we always had this fear and we went to CCI saying that, they have the data and they can completely use it to their advantage to generate demand the way they want. Today, they can very easily show a restaurant or any guy selling snack in the vicinity as unserviceable or unavailable. And they can, just move and migrate that consumer to their app where they are selling their products. So it is a big risk to our existence, a big risk to our, anyways, we are swarmed by high commissions, high discounts. Today, any new guy who wants to start a restaurant business has to pay 30% commission to deliver from Swiggy and Zomato. And if you don't agree to give discounts, you are not even shown visible, right? So visibility is also in question. So, they can arm twist us in whatever way they want. I personally feel that, we've been backstabbed in a very big way because we've always got verbal assurances from Swiggy, Zomato that they will never do their private label. Now, if we have nothing against quick commerce, if they are okay doing quick commerce with restaurants that can adapt to it, I think it's going to add zing to food delivery. It's going to take up their revenue, their sales. We are absolutely fine with that.
Okay.
But, doing your own private label,
Okay.
I think it's absolutely anti-competitive.
Okay.
Unfair.
Okay, so you're saying that it's anti-competitive, but to the point about sharing data, I want to understand from you, Sagar, is that legally viable? Is that legally allowed? Have you had conversations with these food delivery partners, especially as far as the data sharing aspect and, not onboarding of their private labels is concerned? Were there any assurances made by these companies to you?
Absolutely. So for us, Swiggy, Zomato have been very strong partners. We've sat across the table and discussed this data sharing, and the only concern that they had was that the larger players might not misuse it, but the smaller players might. But in their terms and conditions that they take from customers, they take the permission from the consumer. So we were like, if the customer is okay with it, why do you have a problem? But whenever we've told them the risk of why we want the data to come to us, because we want to know our customers and how they can misuse the data, they've always given us verbal assurance that they will never do private label. And for them to come out today and say that during private label and you know what, Sumita, why are they doing this? Till now, it was not in their radar. The minute Zepto started doing a Zepto cafe, and because they are competing with Zepto through Instamart, through Blinkit, they launched their own apps. So somewhere when they're competing with a Zepto, we are getting sandwiched. And why should we allow ourselves to get sandwiched?
Competition, Sagar, competition then hence in the space is really building up, and which is what you fear that is going to eat into your revenues and of course going to harm the interests of smaller businesses. But we just have a couple of minutes, so let me ask as many questions as I can. What are going to be the next few steps that you're going to take? Are you going to take any further legal remedies, and what exactly is the kind of resolution that you're hoping for?
See, we stand for over 5 lakh restaurateurs, right? And the members keep asking us, what are we doing next? We will definitely take legal recourse. We will go by the advice of our legal counsel. We are already in a long-standing case in the CCI against the aggregators. So we will add on to that case. But if need be, if we have to, get an injunction or go to a district court, go to a high court, we will go completely by the guidance we get from a legal counsel. All we are trying to say is that, we feel we've had enough. We feel they did not discuss with us before launching the app, so we don't feel the need to go back and discuss with them. They've done what they had to. We will do what we have to. It's time for us to react now because we cannot just sit hand in hand. Sorry, I didn't get you, Sumita.
I'm saying, have you approached the government as yet?
So I think CCI is a wing of the investigating.
I'm saying, have you approached the government as yet? Have you approached the several ministries that?
So we've had this.
All right, Sagar, thank you for your inputs. Let me ask one. Go ahead.
We've had discussions with the food ministry on this. We've also approached the DPIIT. I think the CCI is the investigating wing of the government. So we have taken government recourse as far as possible. But if we have to protect our rights and go legal, we will do that if we have to.
Sagar, one final question from you, Rahul, before we wrap up this discussion. Now, one cannot really stop the march of technology. All the concerns that Sagar is mentioning are pretty valid. Business models are emerging, and with every tech innovation, you must have seen that there are bound to be some practices which will inconvenience traditional players, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just like e-commerce did a round of disruption, I would say quick commerce is doing another round of disruption. And now everything in India needs to happen in 10 minutes, whether how far-fetched we might think about the utility of that it is. So I think these things are part of that extension, and 10 minutes is the new way, right? Restaurant, their ability to deliver that in those timeline could be the crucial factor. So, how technology can be evolved in a such a way where it can be delivered and it
Okay.
can become
Okay.
an outcome becomes the crucial part.
Okay. Okay. All right. On that note, thank you very much, Sagar and Rahul, for joining us here on ET Now and sharing your thoughts. Sagar, we'll get back to you whenever the next few steps are taken. And of course, we'll see where this issue really goes and what is the government's final response on your request that you've made several times in the past as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening on ET Now. Ladies and gentlemen, time for us to sip into a quick break. But coming up after the break, well, the centre has a